All right, now we're going to be looking at 11.6 and talking about how to add and subtract radicals. Last time we talked about how to multiply and divide. Now we're going to talk about how to add and subtract. Really, adding and subtracting radicals is extremely easy. It's basically the exact same thing as adding like terms. So remember, when we add like terms, the ones that have the same variable, we add the numbers in front. Remember, if there's no number in front, we put a 1. So we add the numbers in front and we leave the variable the same. Add the numbers in front, leave the variable the same. These have the same variable, add the numbers in front, leave the variable the same. If the variables are not the same, then that is my answer. We do the exact same thing when we are adding radicals. So notice this has the square root of 3, the square root of 3. If there's no number in front, I put a 1. I add the numbers in front and leave the radical. It's not the square root of 9, not the square root of 6. Leave the radical the same. These have the same radicals. I add the numbers in front. Leave the radical the same. These do not have the same radicals, so I cannot add them. So it's exactly like adding like terms. Let's look at another one. Square root of 7, square root of 2 is not like. Square root of 7, these are like. Remember, use the sign in front. That's a negative 2. So 6 plus negative 2 equals 4. Leave the radical the same. Now I'm left with just plus 3 square root of 2. They don't have the same radicals, so I can't add them. So you just leave them the same. Here, square root of 2, square root of 5, not the same. Square root of 2, square root of 7, not the same. Square root of 5, square root of 7, not the same. Guess what? I have no like terms, so I can't add anything. So guess what? This is my answer, because I can't add anything. If none of the radicals are the same, then you can't add them, so you can't simplify it anymore. That is your answer. Now, sometimes you will have a radical that is not a prime number. If your radical is not a prime number, just like we talked about last time, you have to simplify first. So before you add your radicals, always check and make sure they are simplified. If they're not simplified, you have to simplify them. So 27, that's the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. Remember, anytime I have two square roots that are the same, that number goes outside. The square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 9, which is 3. And then I still have the square root of 3 left. This is the square root of 3, the square root of 2, and the square root of 2. So I have two square roots of 2, that's the square root of 4, which is just 2. And then I have the square root of 3 left. So I simplified both of those. Now these are like, they both have the square root of 3. I add the numbers in front. That gives me 5 square root of 3. Remember, don't change the radical inside. That's my answer. So simplify first. Let's look at one last one. I have 3 square root of 8. Square root of 8, remember, is square root of 2, square root of 2, square root of 2. So I have 2 square roots of 2. That's going to be the square root of 4, which is 2. So I already have 3 on the outside, so I'm going to multiply that 3 that's already on the outside with a 2. So now I have 6 square root of 2. That square root of 2 that was left. Next, I have 18. That's the square root of 2 times the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. Again, anytime you have 2 of the same, that goes out. And I have 2 times 3, that's negative 6, and then I have the square root of 2 left. Next, I have 12, square root of 2, square root of 2, square root of 3. So I have 2 square root of 2s, that means a 2 goes on the outside, and then I have square root of 3 left. And then 50, that's the square root of 5, square root of 5, and square root of 2. 2 square roots of 5. I already have a 4 on the outside, so I multiply 4 times 5. That gives me 20, and I have the square root of 2 left. Now that I've simplified, now I can add like terms. The square root of 2 and the square root of 2, those are the same, so 6 minus 6 equals 0. 0 times anything is just 0, so it's not square root of 2. Those cancel, and that makes 0. Next, I have negative 2 square root of 3 and 20 square root of 2. Are those like? No. So I can't add them. So my answer is just negative 20 square root of 2, positive 20 square root of 2 minus 2 square root of 3. And that's my final answer. So adding and subtracting square roots is very simple. Step 1, make sure you simplify them like we talked about in the last lesson. Then you're just adding like terms. If their square roots are the same, add the outside numbers, leave the square roots. If they're not the same, then you can't add them, you just have to leave them.